Hello and welcome, friends. My name is Lynn, and today I have a flip of the September 2025 Spellbinders Club Kits. As per usual, for my flip videos, I will be making at least one flat, one layered, one interactive, and one pop-up card. Because this is a long video, here's a quick showcase of all four cards that I'll be making, and I will timestamp this video, so if you want to just skip to one particular card to see how to make it, you can hover over the timeline, and you'll be able to skip just to that portion of the video. I'm going to feature on my cards today the stencil of the month, the Better Press 3D embossing folder, and the small and large dies of the month. And all of the goodies this month have a really lovely fall or Halloween theme. Really awesome fun to craft with. So without further ado, let's make these. So, as per usual, I'm going to start off with my flat card. Now, I define a flat card as not strictly just your card base, but rather your card base plus, at most, one additional layer. And I really love using an embossing folder in general, but in particular a 3D embossing folder for flat cards because it's a really great way to get some dimension on your card but still only have it be one layer. And the reason why I say especially 3D embossing folders is because they tend to give you more variation in depth because of the way that it's designed. It's not just one level. You have some things that are a very deep emboss, and you have some things that are a more shallow emboss. So I love that. And this month's it's a really cool kind of quilty patchwork pattern, and just to give it some extra color, I inked up the embossing folder before I ran it through. And I love this larger size of embossing folder because it's nice. You can put a half sheet of paper in there and then get 2 panels. But if you like to make larger cards, like a 5x7 card, you could get a full 5x7 panel in there as well. And I am also doing something that's a little bit kind of different for me. All of my cards today, I will be making solid color cardstock card bases, which I don't often do, but I feel like I should probably do more often because that's another great way to sort of cheat a little bit on a flat card, because instead of using a white card base and then adding, one layer of purple cardstock and then another layer of embossed panel, if I start with a colored cardstock, that gives me that lovely solid frame all the way around. Now, if your cardstock that you're cutting your card base out of is not too dark, I don't even think you would necessarily need a panel on the inside when you go to write your message, but you might need to add a little extra white panel on the inside if you were to stamp a message and write out your card. But I love using solid color cardstock as my card base. Now, this, I really love. This Better Press plate. It's nice and large, slightly larger than A2, so if you got your panel on a little bit crooked, it's okay. There's some wiggle room there because there's it's a little bit larger than 4¼ by 5½. And I like to just do a little roll of tape so that I don't have to put tape, since it's meant to be a design that can go like the full 4¼ by 5½. If you taped it from the front, it would block the ink. So if you roll a bit of tape, then that helps to be able to get your card stuck down. And this is, again, kind of a little bit of a patchwork pattern, but with hexagons. And it's fun because there's all sorts of different polka dots, stripey effects, squiggles. It's really quite a fun little design. And whenever I pull out my Better Press or my Glimmer machine, I like to just do a couple few panels in different colors just so that I have some options. It's so easy to press out a panel that, why not just make a couple extra while you have everything out. And so I made one in teal. What you see on the upper left screen, those are some new Better Press ink colors from Dina Wakley. The colors are just beautiful, but I have to bring your attention to Iris. It's a purple, and I think this is their first and only purple Better Press ink. So I'm super jazzed about that. And it's actually what I used on my embossing folder for that first card. So you don't necessarily have to only use these inks for better pressing. You can use them wherever you use your other inks as well. But it is really nice to have a purple Better Press ink, because when I look at my selection of inks, I don't know that I have everything, but I have quite a few of the inks in the Better Press line by Spellbinders, and there's a really deep catalog of pink, and there's a pretty deep catalog of teal inks. Not mad about that at all. Teal's my favorite color. But purple is very underrepresented, and so I was really happy to see this Iris ink. If it's available, I don't know if it's available only in a set of 4, because that's how I got mine, but certainly worth checking out if you're looking for a purple Better Press ink. So after I pressed out the panels, I did also press out, there are actually 2 sentiments that come in this set. I pressed out "This Is Me Thanking You," which I thought was really lovely. It's a nice size sentiment too, so I did this in 2 different colors as well. At the time that I pressed out these designs, I wasn't too sure if I was going to mix and match between the 2 colors, because I thought it might be fun to maybe swap some of these hex tiles out, or one hex tile out, and have like a pop of color. And I might do that. I might press it out on black and then press it, with a nice bright color like the pink or the teal, and then just pop in one tile that is colored. I think I might try that next time. But what's really great is that you can see I have these perfect hexagons, and that's because the set comes with a coordinating die. So I think that's a lot of fun. So what I already did was I used the die to cut out, I thought I grabbed the exact same pink, but looking at it now, I can see that it's not exactly this identical pink cardstock, but it's pretty darn close. And what I'm going to do is actually die cut out a couple few spots from this panel. And you don't necessarily have to do that, but the reason why I did it this way is I want to actually add some dimension, add some lift to those solid tiles. So I'm going to actually glue this one down flat to my solid color card base. And I actually might try this in the reverse too, where I lift up on foam that first panel, and then it's recessed, the color beneath it. But I'm putting some foam onto those portions that I die cut out, and then I'm going to put the solid hexagons that I die cut using the exact same die right over top. And what's neat then is that when you look at this from the side, you can see that it's just the plain pink cardstock underneath. And I think that gives it a better illusion than if I were to have just left the design and popped the solid hexagons on top of the original panel. So I think die cutting it just makes it look a little bit more, it carries, because you can see the pink underneath, it just looks a little bit more interesting that way, rather than being able to see the pattern underneath. And plus I have those designs now, those hexagons with the fun quirky patterns. I can use those on a separate card. So I'm definitely going to do that. And I'm going to keep this card pretty simple. In fact, I would say that My first three cards are, I mean, I know it's not quite hitting the definition of clean and simple, but but for me, this is kind of clean and simple. Um, I guess it has an all over pattern, so maybe that isn't enough white space to count as clean and simple, but I do think it's a pretty fun, relatively simple card. My interactive card, I think this is my favorite out of the four. You'll have to tell me which one you like best in the comments below. But I just got these. They are the Snap and Slides by Pear Blossom Press. It released oh gosh, it feels like it wasn't too long ago, but I know it's been at least a few weeks now. But this is my first time crafting with it, and I had a lot of fun with this card in particular. So these snap and slides are really great for slider cards. You can anything that you might put on a slider track, like penny sliders, for example, pull tabs, things like that. Will make your life a lot easier because normally, if you've seen me make slider cards before, you might know how I've done it without dies, where I just punch out or sometimes die cut out circles, 4 circles, and this just eliminates the need for all of that. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to use this pumpkin, which is from the small die of the month, and I checked in advance that the kitty cat fits pretty well inside this pumpkin. But what I did was I held the snap up, and I wanted to make sure that the snap and slide will fit, and I'm gonna draw my mechanism, which is the slot where this will it's kind of like the slider track, and I'm just gonna hand cut that. It's not gonna move a ton, but it's enough for the little surprise kitty to pop up out of this pumpkin, which is a pretty decent size, but it's not huge, but I think it's just enough for that fun surprise element. So I'm just going to use a steel ruler. I figured out where the center point is, and all I'm going to do is, I think I guesstimated about a 1/16 of an inch on both sides of the center line. So I tried to cut away around 1/8 of an inch, and I left some room at the top and a little bit of room at the bottom, enough so that when the snap and slide, that bit of plastic, when it's sliding through this track, it's not going to extend beyond the pumpkin at the very bottom or at the very top. And then that's it. So you can hand cut this like I did with a craft knife. You don't need anything fancy, and it's going to be hard to find a slider track die that's this small, because really, it's probably only about, the pumpkin I think is about maybe 1.5 inches or so, maybe 1.75 inches, and so the track itself is maybe roughly 1 inch, or 1.25 inches. So pretty small, but you can see here. You just need to cut the track so that it's wide enough to where you can fit the mechanism through it. So the snap and slide is called snap and slide because the mechanism comes in 2 pieces. If you've ever had like those button snaps, it's kind of similar to that, where you have you might have it on your jackets and whatnot, where one end just fits into the other, and you kind of have to push it, and then it snaps into place. And this works kind of similar. There's sort of, I think it's generally referred to as like the male and the female parts. And so there's a portion of one part of the snap that needs to kind of fit through this slot here, and so I just had to trim a little bit extra to really make sure that it can fit through that slider track and comfortably slide up and down. You don't want too tight of a fit to where it's offering resistance when you try to pull. And I'm leaving this portion of the video in real time just so that you can kind of see how I'm doing it, and you just kind of take a couple slices here and there until it's just right. I would definitely aim for smaller, and then take some slivers off until you get it just right. I would say where I ended was maybe 3/16 of an inch or so, but you can see here how it just fits in, and then you put the other part on top, and I haven't even snapped it together, but you can snap it together. You'll hear it snap, and it's surprisingly really easy to pull apart too. But that's it. That's as easy as it is, and now you've got a slider mechanism, and you can attach something to the top of it or to the bottom portion, whatever you want. But what you ultimately want to do is just glue the thing that you want to move onto the snap and slide. So in my case, the kitty cat is going to go on the front or the top of the snap, and then I attached a pull tab to the back, and the pull tab is going to be what you pull on in order to reveal the kitty cat. So super fun, really easy. I'm glad the cat fit in here, but if you're looking for other options that might not be quite as tight of a fit, the small die of the month does also have some ghosts, or a ghost, so that could, I think the ghost is even taller, but that might possibly work. There's a skull. I don't know if you would want that. But if you do get, say, the large die of the month, there's a pretty cute little squirrel. Or is he a chipmunk? I'm not too sure. But he would definitely fit inside the pumpkin as well. The cat I just thought was really cute and was part of the set, so was the perfect option. But I'm sure, there may be other dies in your stash that you could use. And the pumpkin is really convenient because it does have the face cut out, and would be really fun if you like to make light up cards. You could put some lights behind the face to make the jack-o'-lantern glow. And it's cute that it cuts out the opening at the top as well. So what I did was I backed the face with a light yellow to kind of make it seem like it is lit up inside the jack-o'-lantern. I didn't want it to be black. I wanted it to have a lighter color so that the kitty cat just feels a little bit more like a surprise coming out of the pumpkin. And I left the top opening open because that's where I'm going to sort of have the cat come out of. Now, Pear Blossom Press does also have these sticky dots, which are the exact perfect size for the snap and slide. So it's just a nice sticky dot adhesive, and I just put one on the front and attach my cat to it. And there's a lot of black on black here because I'm going to do a black card base, because remember, and it just so happened to be, I wasn't really setting out as a goal to use colored card bases, but once I got 2 cards in, I thought I may as well keep the ball rolling on this. And so I've got a black card base. Now with black, you definitely want to add an extra panel on the inside so that you can stamp a message, write a message, etc. And then I've used the same embossing folder in black. I love doing the tone on tone, whether it's white on white or this black on black. I don't think I've done before, but I'm really liking the look of it. I do cut down the emboss panel so that you have solid black border all the way around. Now, even though it's black on black, I think that solid black border still makes a nice difference rather than having the emboss panel go fully edge to edge. So that will be my card, But before that, what I want to do is get the pull tab mechanism. So I just used another sticky spot on the back of the mechanism here. And then I've got some heavyweight. And if you don't have heavyweight cardstock for the pull tab, which I didn't, I used because I wanted to use the same black cardstock as everything else, just in case it's visible, but my goal is to hide it as much as possible. But if you don't have heavyweight cardstock, I would definitely double up on your cardstock, because you want the pull tab to be nice and sturdy so that it doesn't feel sort of wobbly as you're pulling on it. And what I did was, with a pencil, I marked where the pull tab goes, and where it needs to travel, because when you go to glue this down, you don't want to put any adhesive. In this case, I'm using a little bit of foam, and you can see I'm just surrounding the track with some, I think this is my medium weight foam. It's only about 2 millimeters, so it's not quite my low profile, but it's not super thick either. And you just want to have enough on either side of your pull tab, but you don't want any adhesive to get in the way of the movement. So this pull tab needs to travel up and down without getting caught up on anything. So I've just got some foam flanking either side of it, and the foam just sort of helps to give it a little bit of extra space and room to slide, room to move. Then I've got some extra pumpkins. Now these ones I'm leaving plain, so they won't have faces. That makes the first one a little bit extra special because it's sort of the focal image. And I did, though, want to add some dimension, a little bit of dimension, because when you cut the pumpkin with the jack-o'-lantern face, it actually has a really lovely emboss, of the indented, sort of wedges of the pumpkin. And I mimicked a little bit of that on the plain pumpkins, because when you just die cut the plain outline, it doesn't have those embossed lines. But I just used it's actually one of those dense foam mats for flower forming, and I just took a bone folder and just drew in those curved lines. So I added a little bit of that embossing detail onto those plain pumpkins. It helps a little bit, I think. And so now that I'm going to stick down my main pumpkin, you can see it's black on black, so it might be a little bit hard to see, but I'm only putting adhesive on the foam. And that should be nowhere near the pull tab mechanism, so that the pull tab can freely move up and down and not be obstructed by anything. And so one thing that I did off camera was I did actually pull this up in time before it dried to put a little bit of Scotch tape over the two pumpkin die cuts, because it was operating pretty smoothly, but then sometimes every once in a while those pumpkin die cuts created a little bit of a catch point, and it made it a little bit hard to pull up. And so I did take a moment off camera to just put some Scotch tape. So anywhere that there's like a difference in layers of cardstock, that might present a little bit of a catch point, and Scotch tape will just smooth that right out so that whatever you want to move can glide right over. Now on the front here, you kind of want to do the same thing. The cat needs to travel up and down. So to attach the top or the face of the pumpkin, I only put adhesive where it's not going to interfere with the travel path of the cat. That way the cat can still freely move up and down, and we've still secured down the face of the pumpkin. Now what's cute is that there's an extra die set for the top of the pumpkin, and so I'm gonna attach this to my pull tab. So you can see it's black. It might actually be hard to see, but my pull tab is still there, and I'm only just now cutting it down so that really you can't see it. It's really completely hidden by the pumpkin top. And I'm not gonna actually stamp the word pool anywhere. I might, I don't know if I'll give this card out. I kind of love it, but if I do give it out, it does need a little bit of instruction because it's really not obvious that you can pull on that pumpkin top, but that makes a really fun reveal. Hopefully, if somebody studies the card, they'll see. And don't worry, I'll do another close-up look at that card at the very end because it is my favorite. All right, so on to my last card, which is my pop-up card. Now, this card is new to me. I actually learned this card, and I took the measurements and everything straight from Sam Calcott. She's got a lovely tutorial on this, and in her tutorial video, she said that she saw it on Pinterest, and I don't know if she had a link to a tutorial video for where she originally saw this card, but this I got from, I think it's Sam's Mixed Up Crafts channel, and it's a gatefold hammock card. So again, starting with some solid color cardstock, this is 11 inches by 7, and along the 11-inch edge, I scored it at half an inch and 3, and then turn it 180 and score half an inch and 3. And what I did was a mountain fold and then a valley fold. Now to get a valley fold, I always score it again, but from the back side, because score lines I like to fold as mountain folds. It just helps to maintain the integrity of the cardstock a little bit better, and you're less likely to get cracks. And so that's going to be the start of our card, which will ultimately end up being a 5x7 card. Now, for the hammock portion of the card, this piece needs to be cut to 8 inches wide by 5 inches tall. The 5 inches is up to you, just kind of depends on how much space you want to decorate and how much of your card base you want visible beyond this. But again, I took the measurements just straight from Sam Calcott's video, so you can also watch her tutorial if mine's moving a little too fast for you. But 8 by 5 is this piece, and it's scored at 1 inch and 2.5 inches, and then you just rotate 180 and you score 1 inch and 2.5. So everything is mirrored. So again, this piece is 8 by 5, scored at 1 and 2.5 inches. Rotate, score at 1 and 2.5 inches. That first piece was 11 by 7, and along the 11 you score at half and 3. Rotate 180 and score half and 3. So then you get those two pieces, which basically make up the core card. And so now I'm gonna cut a few extra panels to essentially hide the glue tab of where the hammock, that was the 8 by 5 piece, where that gets attached to the main card. So these pieces measure 1.5 wide by 7 inches tall, and in total I cut 4. I deviated from Sam's tutorial a little bit here. I cut 2 in a lighter shade. I'm using Spellbinders cardstock, so the darkest green is fern, the middle green is rainforest, and the lightest green is peridot. And that 1.5 by 7 piece, I actually cut 4 of them, 2 in peridot and 2 in fern. And you'll see where they all go when I start to glue things together, but it's going to help hide the portion of the hammock that gets glued to this card base. So one thing that I thought would be fun, because I've got so many layers already of cardstock, and if you have ever crafted with Spellbinders cardstock, that you know it's pretty heavy duty stuff, which is good for a card like this. It's gonna make it stand really easily, but it's 100-pound cover weight cardstock, so it's pretty thick. And to decorate the inside, I didn't want to add even more layers of cardstock. So I'm using the stencil of the month, which is a set of actually 5 layered stencils. I'm only stenciling the number 2 stencil for some leaves, and the number 5 stencil is what I'm using now for the veins of the leaf. And I used a Versamark ink because it doesn't really add color, it just darkens your cardstock, and it just gives it a really nice subtle monochromatic look. I did, for the vein detail, use a darker green, which kept everything still pretty monochromatic. So now to attach this. So here's a little preview of how it's going to all fit together. So the hammock portion, this is the rainforest. I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid adhesive close to that first fold. I'm only going to do this one side at a time. And part of this overhangs the glue tab on the card base by about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to line this up, roughly centering it top to bottom. And what I want to do is put a little bit of dry adhesive tape onto this 1/2 inch glue tab here. And that way I have something that's going to be an instant grab, but I'll have a little bit of liquid adhesive that will make this a nice permanent stick. So I'm going to line everything up and just fold the hammock right over this glue tab and burnish it really well. And so that's half of it attached. And as with how I always do my pop-up cards, I like to glue the other half when everything is folded down flat. And that way I know that it's going to fold down if I needed to ever send this and put it in an envelope and put it through the mail. It's nice to make sure you don't have any bubbles or anything, and that it's not warped. So that's why I always love to attach things when it's fully folded. Now the extra little panels that I cut, these are 1.5 by 7. Remember, I cut 4 of them, and that's so that we can hide these glue tabs here. So the fern colored ones I put on the back, and then on the front, even though that looks kind of okay, I covered up the front as well. So the front I used Peridot. And so that helps to just cover up all of that mechanism, and it sandwiches those glue tabs, and so you don't see those. It just makes for a little bit of a neater finish, and adds a little bit of bulk, but it's not too bad, I don't think. But it certainly does make it feel nice and sturdy now. So now for the decoration. That's the basic hammock, gatefold hammock card. And so you can decorate that as just a base card, pop-up card, however you'd like. But I'm going to use the large die of the month to decorate with. And you get so much in this die set. As always with the large die of the month, I always find it's incredible value for money. This is really darling. It's an acorn house. And so for the top portion, that's layered. So you have one portion that's just the bottom, and then you've got that sort of, that lacy sort of texture at the top. Then you have the little doorway here, which also has a little window through the door that comes in 2 pieces. So that if you want, you can put some yellow cardstock like I have to make it suggestive of a light on the inside. There's even this little window right above the door. Although kind of interesting. I think I would have rather had like maybe one window off to the side a little bit. It is kind of a snug fit to have a window right above the door like that. I don't know that they could have fit two on either side of the door, um, but even I think having one maybe off to the left of the door might have been a nice choice. But I'm also assembling this. I think it's a squirrel, or maybe it is a chipmunk because it's going to be carrying an acorn. But there's some really lovely layers here. There's the little white tummy. The eyes are kind of fun. It's actually two layers for the eyes. You have one layer that gives you the black of the ear, like sort of the inside of the ear, the eye, and the tip of the nose. That's all one piece that gets attached at the back. And then there's a second piece that gives you the whites of the eyes. It's like incredible detail. It's pretty awesome. And then there's these little acorns. There's two acorns and they have their own tops. And I did in advance die cut just a bunch of leaves. What you see right now to the left is just one, maybe half of the dies in the set. I've got the other half on a second sheet in my little storage folder here. And the second sheet has loads of flowers, or loads of leaves, fall leaves. And I die cut them out of these lovely fall colors. There are two sentiment debossing plates, and there's and as per always, I think with Spellbinders, when they do these, you have the plate that just does the debossing, and then you've got the die that cuts out the banner. In this case, it's double fishtail banners, and it's kind of cool. I've never actually done it, but I think it would be a neat option to just deboss the sentiment into a panel and not actually die cut it as a banner. I don't think I've ever done that before, but I think that would be fun to do. So as I'm decorating, I am making really full use of everything. So the little chipmunk I put on the left, you can barely see him because he's kind of like on the left wall of the hammock. And the acorn is front and center, so you definitely see that. You've got the word happy, and the word happy in the debossed sentiment banner Thanksgiving. I did die cut those out twice, once in gold and then a second time in the dark brown, just so that there's a little bit of a shadow that helps it just helps really make it more legible, I feel, to have it offset a little bit with a drop shadow. And I'm going to speed this up a ton because I just went to town with decorating the outside of the gate with all of these different leaves. So I think there's like 5 different types of leaves. And as well, there's some flowers, and then there's some longer stems as well, which I didn't use on my card. I think I used just about everything else in this set, but I didn't use the flowers. And I'm hanging some of the leaves off the edge of this little gate because it's still within the 5x7, so it just gives it like a little bit of a unique border. And I had leftover leaves, so I thought, why not just use it? So so I attached those to the darker like behind that panel, so then it gives you a little bit of dimension, a little bit of depth there. So just really fun to have so much going on the front of the card. I don't know if I'm gonna add a belly band to this because I think it would be hard to possibly slide a belly band on and off with all of these leaves because I've hung the leaves over so many edges. But here's a final close-up look at all 4 of my cards. So this is my flat card, which featured the 3D embossing folder and the sentiments from the clear stamp of the month, which I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, but I used it in this. I didn't use the actual, like, all the good stuff in the clear stamp of the month, so I'm going to craft with it again. I really only used it for some sentiments. My layered card features the better press of the month. This is my favorite card, my interactive card, which again features the 3D embossing folder and the small die of the month. And it's just a fun pull tab slider. But look how fun it is when that kitty cat pops up. And I love that the die puts in the little heart nose. It's a really cute, sweet little detail. But this slides so easily, and the snap and slide, I'm gonna leave links to everything in the description box below if you want to check out any of the Spellbinders club kits, or you want to check out the Pear Blossom Press snap and slide and their sticky spots. Really, really perfect for, and you get a lot of the snap and slides. There's 10 to a pack. And that's 10 pairs, so you can make 10 sliders. And then this is my pop-up card, which is a gatefold, a hammock card, and it features the large die of the month. So much fun. You can see using all of these leaves in so many different ways, but I really love the little chipmunk and the little acorn house. Super, super cute. It's really great for like scene building, this hammock style card. Had a lot of fun. This was the first time that I've put one together. Sam Calcott has like a ton of different variations that get even more fancy than this. So definitely check out her channel if you're not familiar with her already. She's got tons of really fun interactive style and fun fold style cards. So that's my flip of the Spellbinders club kits for September 2025. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do hit that like, and if you are not already, please subscribe to my channel. And a big thank you to everybody who shops with my affiliate links. I really appreciate whenever anybody shops my links, because I do get a little bit of a commission at no additional cost to you. So thank you in advance if you are using my links. And until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.